Coming off the heels of one of the most anticipated wrestling returns of all time, CM Punk has all but changed the entire landscape of professional wrestling with just one appearance on AEW Dynamite. It was one of the best moments in wrestling history and one where I've honestly had a hard time finding anything to compare it to. From Stone Cold Steve Austin in the Attitude Era to Hulk Hogan's WrestleMania return pop at WrestleMania 18 against The Rock, I think CM Punk's pop at Rampage will go down as one of the biggest of all time. There were many wrestlers who had positive things to say about CM Punk's wrestling return, from wrestlers such as Sasha Banks, Keith Lee, and even Ryback. The whole community was ecstatic about his return. Well, maybe not everyone. Vince McMahon, being the genius that he is, has this business strategy of, even if I don't want you, I don't want anyone else to have you. This is why, until recently, the WWE have hoarded so many talents, and it wouldn't surprise me if this is why Vince McMahon sets out to ruin so many talents, such as Karrion Kross. The man truly is an evil genius when it comes to professional wrestling, and if this motherfucker can't control something, he will burn it to the fucking ground. Which also goes into my theory that Vince wants to ruin WWE before he dies, but that's another topic for another day. Vince McMahon didn't want CM Punk, but now that AEW has him, and have obviously found success with him, now he is setting out to send his WWE ass-kissing cronies to badmouth and belittle CM Punk. It all started with a Roman Reigns interview a few days before CM Punk's debut. Roman said that CM Punk was not as good or as ever over as John Cena, or as good or a needle mover like The Rock. While he isn't wrong, it's hard to think of any wrestlers that were ever as big as The Rock or Stone Cold Steve Austin when it came to popularity. But concerning CM Punk's popularity, I don't think it was a case of CM Punk not being as popular as those guys. I think the problem is that he could have been, easily. All WWE had to do was fucking push him, but they would rather rely on old fossils to quote-unquote move the needle. Roman then goes on to say that he's done everything to get to the position he is in, to be as good as those people too. Yeah, fucking right, Roman. Compared to CM Punk, Roman is fucking trash. John Cena may have had 5 moves of doom, but Roman has 4. This motherfucker is the drizzling shits in the ring. CM Punk ensured that every segment, match, even on commentary, whatever he was doing was entertaining. And while Roman is good now as a heel with Paul Heyman, he's had hands down some of the worst matches and moments in WWE history. I mean, suffer and succotash, son. You need a fucking reality check. Now, if CM Punk was in the company and Roman had said all these things, you would think, oh boy, here we go, WrestleMania match incoming. We're gonna get CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. But CM Punk is in a completely different company, so these comments are just a straight up jab at Punk, trying to take away his credibility and basically get into the mindset of fragile fans to be like, oh wow, I guess CM Punk actually isn't that big of a deal. So as much as this can't be proven whatsoever, I honestly think this is some sort of weird marketing strategy from Vince McMahon. I think Vince told Roman to slander CM Punk. Why do I think this? Because other WWE performers have come out of the woodshed to do the exact same thing. CM Punk's return to wrestling is a big moment in history, but you also have to realize that this is also a learning moment. Because we're about to learn who the real WWE yes men actually are. WWE always tried to hold CM Punk down. If it wasn't for Paul Heyman, he probably would have never made it. Getting into this business is the hardest thing in the entire world. So many people never make it. So many people that you never see. And one would think, oh wow, then they must suck if they didn't make it. No, it's because we live in a world of ass-kissing and backstage politics in every aspect of life. You can't get over unless you kiss the ring. And if you're a woman, you probably have to kiss more than that. It's fucking disgusting, and these little yes-men puppets of Vince, such as R-Truth, are fucking despicable. R-Truth commented on CM Punk's return to wrestling saying this: CM Punk, you lost to me and Miz because we were hotter than you, sorry, and I never thought you were impressive at all, just typical entitlement. Oh, are you talking about the infamous pairing of the Miz and R-Truth? Oh wow, that was such good shit, you're right, that was way better than anything CM Punk has ever done. I feel like all this CM Punk slander isn't just because CM Punk debuted in AEW though. Like I said, Vince McMahon didn't want CM Punk in the company anymore, even though during Broken Skull sessions on the network, Stone Cold asked Vince about this topic, to which he said he's always open for business. Fast forward a couple of years later, Vince would say that CM Punk is just the one man I can't do business with. Now, you have to take this with a tiny grain of salt, though, because it comes from one of the internet's most notorious pariahs, Dave Meltzer, of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. I think there could be credibility to this though, because let's go back to what R-Truth said. He name drops The Miz as someone who doesn't like CM Punk as well. Now why would The Miz not like CM Punk? Last year when CM Punk was on WWE Backstage, Punk would send out a tweet that would decide his fate in the company. During a WWE Backstage, conveniently when CM Punk wasn't even there, The Miz would say, "Oh, sorry, I didn't change the culture," seemingly shooting a jab at Punk like some sort of grade school bully. I honestly think it would have been hilarious if CM Punk was there and he actually said this. It would have made for some interesting television to say the least. CM Punk tweets out his response saying, "Why don't you go suck a blood money covered dick in Saudi Arabia, you fucking dork?" I won't lie, this had me laughing hysterically. It was so damn harsh that you could tell that CM Punk meant it in the meanest way possible. However, I think this tweet unfortunately doomed CM Punk as well. What's the one thing that Vince values more than anything in the entire world? If you said anything else but money, you'd be a fucking idiot. Nobody gets in the way of Vince McMahon making money, and CM Punk inadvertently did this by criticizing Saudi Arabia. It's no stranger that WWE working with the crooked and corrupt Saudi government is one of the most polarizing things that they do, and CM Punk calling them out on that is probably one of the most epic and heroic things ever. Now imagine if he did that on television. That's just one risk that Vince McMahon couldn't take. So CM Punk has been blacklisted from the company, and now that he's returned and probably helped bring the foreseeable doom of the WWE, now Vince is sending out his goons to badmouth and try to devalue him. Well, guess what, Vince? You can't devalue Punk. I know you tried for years having him get jobbed out to Triple H and Miz and Ryback, etc. But even if you could job him out and devalue him like you've done wrestlers such as EC3 and Karrion Kross and Keith Lee, wrestlers like CM Punk and Daniel Bryan are just too damn good. And instead of treating them well and letting wrestlers such as Bray Wyatt be creative, you just had to get in the way and sabotage all of it. When the WWE falls, and believe you me, it will, I won't credit CM Punk and Daniel Bryan or Bray Wyatt or Adam Cole or any wrestlers. It'll be the fault of Vince McMahon. WWE will die at its own hands, and it's a damn shame because this company produced some of the greatest moments of television for the last 30 plus years, and I'm sure many people will look back fondly on it. But it's not too late, Vince. Step down and give control to people who know what they're doing, or just keep sucking that blood money covered dick just like The Miz does. What do you think about this situation? Do you think CM Punk is a needle mover, or are you more of a fan of the big dog and WWE's politicking bullshit? Leave a comment and don't forget to subscribe for more wrestling content.